Some serious stuff about to hit the fan in Washington, D.C. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of Democrats who are saying the shit is about to hit the fan on Monday when Congress returns today. A House Democrat told Axios people are scared about their own races right now because of President Biden. They're also worried about the country and the democracy, end quote. A Democratic coup is unfolding. Could we see a Democratic revolt trying to throw Biden out? Something we predicted weeks ago right here on Redacted. I think many of you will probably remember that episode where we deep dived all of the pieces of this coup that was unfolding right before our eyes. Democrats looking to throw Joe Biden out ahead of the 2024 election. It's not an overstatement when I say that Democrats are in revolt. They're not just a party divided over policy. They're a party in open rebellion against their own leader right now, their demented president, Joe Biden. A coup, just imagine for a second what this would look like. A sitting president facing a mutiny from within his own party. I mean, a mainstream media which is suddenly shocked to find that Karine Jean-Pierre has been lying. A press secretary has been lying to us all along.
He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement, in my experience with him.
Oh, yeah. He's the sharpest he's ever been. As long as I've known him. You know, he's only gotten more sharp. Like 4 years ago, I thought he was sharp. He's even sharper now. So I guess mental regression, dementia senility is favorable to Karine Jean-Pierre. This isn't just some behind-the-scenes grumbling that's happening right now among Democrats. This is a full-on coordinated coup attempt to dislodge the commander-in-chief. Just watch ABC's George Stephanopoulos. He spent 22 straight minutes grilling President Biden over his mental capacity.
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world.
I'm running the world.
And I'm doing fine. Every day on this test, I mean, everyone thinks I'm failing, but I'm taking it every single day, right? And I don't understand no one said I had to. They said I'm fine. Who's they that said you're fine?
Well, you have to realize, I mean, they're surrounded by sycophants, right? You're surrounded by people who are just telling you what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. So you're surrounded by yes men in this little enclosed bubble right now. And of course, reports are over the past 48 hours that Biden is being kept in such a cloistered environment right now. You know, Jill Biden is absolutely keeping him away from even other staff members who are openly in revolt and upset about it right now. So over the past 24 to 48 hours, we've seen a growing chorus of Democrats openly going on record calling for Biden to step down. Remember these names, folks. These are 5 of the House Democrats leading the coup right now. These are like people signing their name on the Declaration of Independence. You put your name on the Declaration of Independence and the king gets a hold of you. It's lights out for you. So they're putting their names right now on, out there publicly admitting that they want Biden out of there. Here are Representatives Angie Craig from Minnesota, Representative Lloyd Doggett from Texas, Arizona's Raul Gravella, Massachusetts Seth Moulton, Illinois Mike Quigley, all coming out publicly saying for the first time, Joe has to go. Here, just a look. Minnesota Representative Angie Craig says this is not a decision I come to lightly. There's simply too much at stake to risk a second Donald Trump presidency. I respectfully call on President Biden to step aside. It's the Democratic nominee for a second term as president. Allow for a new generation of leaders to step forward. Lloyd Doggett says, I'm hopeful that he will make this painful and difficult decision to withdraw. I respectfully call on him to do so. Another one says, Arizona Representative Raul says what he needs to do is shoulder the responsibility for keeping that seat. And part of that responsibility is get out of this race. And it goes on and on and on.
Well, MSNBC said that they're freaking out that this could cost them their own election. So I'm thinking about how that would work. Right. So I think that what they're afraid of is that their constituents see them lying to them, saying he's fine, this is fine. And that then says something about their judgment, that they have done, and that could cost them their elections. I don't know. What do you think of that as a possibility?
Well, I mean, a lot of the individuals, of course, who ride the coattails of the person in charge, yes, often can tie their hopes and dreams to the leader of the party. Or you can sort of step aside and not tie your hopes and dreams to the leader of your party and try to run sort of an alternative path.
How would you do that as a candidate?
A lot of candidates have pulled this off in very local elections. There's sort of there's a template for this, both among Republicans and Democrats. You pay attention to your local district. You talk about local issues. You don't talk about President Biden at all. You don't even bring up his name.
Right.
There were people that ran successfully that way when Donald Trump was down in the polls and people were picking on Donald Trump, and he was seen by many Republicans as like a liability. Instead, you know what? I'm just going to run as the local person here in town. I'm not going to mention Donald Trump's name.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on local issues, and that's how you win a race. And the same thing is true with Democrats. They can run away from Biden in that way.
Yes.
Something I've been asking myself, though, all weekend long about this is, why now? Why are we seeing this now? Why the sudden urgency right now at this moment? Why are all the mainstream media right now on the same page? I find this part of the story the most fascinating. Front page of The Economist. Look, no way to run a country with a walker the presidential seal, like The Economist? Really? Talk about a liberal rag that's always in your corner.
Right.
I mean, they love Biden. What?
And they love the war in Ukraine.
They love the war in Ukraine. They love the green energy policies. They love globalist agenda. I mean, they love everything about Biden.
Yeah, how's the underside of that bus feel, President Biden?
But they're not alone. I mean, The Economist isn't alone. This isn't a vacuum. All of the liberal
Wall Street
media.
Journal, yes.
New York Times, to serve his country, President Biden should leave the race. This is the New York Times. Here's the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It's time for Biden to pass the torch. Here's another one. Here's the New Yorker. The reckoning of Joe Biden. For the president to insist on remaining the Democratic candidate would be an act of not only self-delusion, but of national endangerment. Here's the Wall Street Journal. Democrats can't avoid the Biden problem. And then finally, here's the Boston Globe. You don't get more liberal than this. Why Biden should step aside for the good of the country. The president should graciously bow out of the race and free his delegates to cast their votes to someone else at the DNC. So
this is decidedly worse than Trump had it. And the media screamed themselves hoarse about Trump's competency. So yeah, this is the right question, is what's in it for them? Why are they doing this? It can't be out of honesty.
No, but I'm just curious how within a 48-hour period, all of these newspapers, all of them are suddenly on the same page, and all of these Democrats all on the same page at the same time. Well, it's a coordinated hit job by the deep state. This is exactly why it happened. You use the dismal debate performance against Donald Trump as cover. Work with CNN to show the world that he's got dementia. Make sure all of the Democrats are on the same page. That's the brilliance of using this strategy. We didn't think he was demented at all. And then, oh, wait a second. Did you see that CNN debate? Yeah, he's totally lost his mind. Sources are saying that Democrats are terrified that Biden, of course, can't take on Donald Trump in November. Clearly, the poll numbers suggest that's the case. They're shaking in their boots at the thought of another 4 years of President Trump. And instead of rallying behind a demented, senile president, they're looking for a revolt. What are they going to do? They need to find some sort of fresh blood. They know they can't win with him. And they're plotting, scheming, trying to force him out. But Biden is not budging. So he told ABC's George Stephanopoulos this weekend that an act of God will be the only thing to remove him. If only God will remove him.
Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah.
Right.
Are you sure?
Right. Only God himself will allow him to pull out of the race. He said that. He said, I really, unless God himself asks me to leave. I mean, this is a man who can barely articulate his thoughts, is telling us that divine intervention is the only way he would step aside. But Biden has told us that democracy is on the ticket. He said repeatedly on the campaign trail that democracy is on the ticket in November. So then what is it? The will of the people? Or is it God? You can't have it both ways. Is it the will of the people that don't want you here based on poll numbers and your own constituents and your own members of Congress, your own party leaders, your own donors that don't want you? Or is it God?
Well, he does get to say, right, unless there is, like Slim Gnome in our chat says, a false flag coming in, something that would remove him without his own will. Okay, if you know what I mean.
Yes, so let's talk about that, okay? Because this is what I'm fascinated by. This is, to me, the most interesting part of this story. I mean, we've been reporting on this for a couple of weeks or months now, that this was going to happen, and people called us crazy.
Sure.
Right? I love that. But I love being called crazy, and here we are. So how is all of this going to come together? And why are we seeing all of this drama right now? So the reason I think we're seeing all of this drama right now, all of this sort of theater, let's just call it theater because that's what it is. We knew that this was coming. We knew that they were lining up to try to have either a Gavin Newsom step in or Kamala Harris would take the reins, something like that. So we knew that this was coming. So why all of this drama, the theater, all of the mainstream media publications publishing almost on the same day that he needs to step aside, George Stephanopoulos doing this massive interview for 22 minutes, won't let up on that one question about his mental competency. They weren't talking about Gaza. They didn't talk about anything else. They literally talked about his mental capacity for 22 minutes.
Right.
When has that happened before from George Stephanopoulos about a Democratic president? CNN all over this on debate night, slamming his performance. So all of this theater is, and then now we know that he's also just canceled a meeting with Democratic senators who were set to have a meeting with him today, and he canceled this meeting. So we'll get to that part in a second. But I think all of the theater that we're seeing right now, it's all coordinated by the deep state. It's all a plan. It's all a plan to say, use the CNN debate as this moment,
right?
Have all of this mainstream media coverage, have him be defiant for a few days. I'm staying in this race, God willing, I'm staying in this race. And then he steps aside for the good of the party, and he's the knight in shining armor. He steps aside. It's like, it's all theater. I think
it does seem strange timing because it's a week lag from the debate.
Right.
Not much happened last week. So from a news cycle perspective,
4th of July,
we were off, right? And I thought, oh man, we really missed this story. Why is it coming in hot now, 8 days later?
Well, Congress is coming back 4th of July.
I wonder if it's just going to be that the plan is he can act big and tough, like, oh, I'm staying in it, I'm sticking in it. And then when they get to nominating, the Democrats come together to nominate their candidate, they don't nominate him.
Yeah.
Right.
That seems to me what's going to have to happen here is the DNC, Philip. You're right. Like, the Democratic National Convention will be the place where he steps aside. Democrats come together, old school style, 100 years ago style, and they elevate someone who, I didn't want to be the presidential nominee. I didn't want that at all.
Yeah.
I'm Grover Cleveland. I didn't have anything to do with, I don't want to be your nominee. And then you're suddenly the presidential nominee, Grover Cleveland style, you know? So I think it's fascinating.
I didn't know that style.
That is the Grover Cleveland style. It's coming back. It's back in fashion. So, of course, it's total lunacy right now. And he's doubling down on this idea that he's not getting out. So this morning, rather than appear on camera reading his notes, because that's exactly what he's doing when he's on these phone calls. He's on a phone call so he doesn't have to be seen reading notes. He called into Morning Joe and read off some pre-prepared cue cards. Listen.
The bottom line here is that we're not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024. We had a Democratic nominating process where the voters spoke clearly. I won 14 million of those votes, et cetera. So I just want, I'm not only believed that from the beginning, but I wanted to reassert it and demonstrate that it's true. And I'm going to be doing that all through this week and from here on.
So he's going to
No, that's AI Biden. I'm sorry. I watched the Instagram where the new Prime Minister of England was receiving a call from Joe Biden.
Yeah. I'm
not buying these audios. No, I'm not. It's too much like, it sounds like a Howard Stern impersonator. I'm sorry, I can't.
I love that Natali has now gone off the AI deep end. Yes.
It's deep fake Biden. I don't know. I sent it to our redacted chat yesterday. Nobody rang in with
What do
a
you
vote.
guys think? I mean, do you guys think that that's real? I mean, I think it's likely real. He's just sitting there reading off of notes. And these are like sort of pre-prepared questions. I mean, he's received a whole host of pre-prepared questions from radio hosts recently.
There was a radio host in Philadelphia who was fired for that.
Right. So I think by doing it as a phone call, that his staff is all around him on a speakerphone.
You think that sounds real?
They can hand him the cue card that he has to respond to. Like they've got Corinne Jean-Pierre's folder of notes.
Sure.
So Morning Joe asks a question. They get a note right out of their little binder and they just hand it to him.
Okay, I'm going with deepfake.
All right. I'm glad I'm giving him, I can't believe I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt right now, but I think it's real. So, of course, this is total lunacy. He also sent out a tweet this morning, which tell me if you think he actually wrote his own tweet. This morning, I sent a letter to my fellow Democrats on Capitol Hill. In it, I shared my thoughts about this moment in our campaign. It's time to come together, move forward as a unified party, and defeat Donald Trump. There's no way he knows how to use a comma correctly. There's no way. And then he sends out this massive letter that he wrote. Of course, he did not write that letter. No one believes that for a second. It's time to come together, move forward as a unified party, and defeat Donald Trump. So stop saying that you want me out of here. And of course, this weekend, the Washington Post revealed the top Democratic senators called an emergency meeting with Biden for today. George Stephanopoulos confirmed that in this interview.
Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination, too. Mark's not. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Yes, they did call a meeting. And now we know that he canceled the meeting this morning. So the president was set to meet with the Democratic senators, asking him to leave, and he canceled the meeting. Billionaire Bill Ackman says there's only two reasons to cancel such a meeting. One, that POTUS, President Biden, is not even willing to listen to calls for his stepping aside. Or two, that the president has finally recognized that the time has come. I would bet on number two, he says. By canceling the meeting, he preserves his dignity in being better able to say it was his decision. So Democrats are terrified. Go ahead, dude.
I just want to point out one thing. It's like, it's funny how on Twitter or X, people are like, the media is being too hard on him. They're really pushing, like they've got this thing and they're being hard on Biden. But like, this is the journalism that we've been wanting. They should be talking to these people this way. All of these, every single politician should walk away from an interview and be like, that was tough. That was a tough interview. And so it's like they're finally doing their job.
And the media should wonder who's pulling the strings, if not him. Mm-hmm. If he's like this, we should be asking, not Jill Biden, not Corinne Jean-Pierre, but like, who really is making these decisions? And the media lacks curiosity about that.
I mean, I remember when Senator John McCain was finished with a Tim Russert interview on Meet the Press one time. At the end of the interview, he said, Senator John McCain, thanks so much for joining me. And Senator McCain said, thanks. It was like getting a prostate exam. I didn't enjoy it one bit. That's how it should be. Like that's how it should be every time. It shouldn't be fun. We are to hold you to account. So Democrats are terrified that Biden can't beat Trump. You have Democrats shouting behind closed doors that Biden needs to step aside to save the party, save their seats, ultimately save themselves from another humiliating defeat. So what is next? How are they going to pull this off? Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, I think, said it perfectly. Watch.
I think most Americans have made up their minds. I think they have concluded that President Biden is old, that he is likely suffering from some form of neurodegenerative disease, that he's suffered from it for a while, and that the White House and many members of the media industrial complex have covered it up. And that cover-up has been toxic. In my opinion, for what it's worth, politically, I think President Biden, politically, is as dead as fried chicken. He can quit, but he can be replaced. Let me just finish my thought. Or he can run and lose. You can't successfully run for President of the United States when your campaign slogan is, "I'm only senile some of the time," as one commentator pointed out today.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, he's going to run or lose, step aside. There's no other choice.
Yeah.
So I think this may come down to the Democratic National Convention. I've been talking to some different sources about this and where this is unfolding. We're going to see, I think, over the next few days here, how this comes together, how they plan to put a Gavin Newsom in this spot or a Democratic governor in this spot. Could it be at the Democratic National Convention, or could it be some sort of a mini primary, which would allow them to move forward on this? I'm not sure. But I think, as Tyler points out in our chat, why talk about the media as if they're not part of the government? Absolutely. So they've been handed their marching orders right now from the deep state.
Which is abandon ship.
Abandon ship, get him out of there. They need a new Democratic leader. Otherwise, donors are withholding their money. And this is a sinking ship for Democrats.
I just don't see, I would love to see a Gavin Newsom campaign and have them make the case. Look at California. Let's do that to the whole country. Who would vote for that, right? And I'm a native Californian, and my whole family is like, oh, he ruined California. There's no way somebody would say, that's the template. Let's all do that.
Let's do that to America.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. That's why they love Gavin Newsom right now.